I don't have much to say, really. Just, I'm extremely grateful for everybody in this room, especially a bunch of people that have shown up that I haven't seen in a while. All played an important part of my recovery, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for them. But probably most important of all is this gentleman I've asked to speak, who's been one of the best friends a man could ever have, and a damn good sponsor. I asked him to be my sponsor years ago, as I was saying earlier, mainly because he's always on my ass stuff. And he's one of the few people I listen to when he gets upset. When people get on my ass, I pay attention to him. But I know he's not saying it out of spite. Anyway, I'll shut up and ask Mr. Bryan to share with us.
Thank you. My name is Bryan. I'm an addict.
Brother Bryan.
Well, I want to say a little something about what got me here and what it's been like since I've been here and what I've been going through in the last year or so. I got here because I was born an addict. I was born to a family where everybody, literally everybody, used. My first drug was called a sugar kick. They took a handkerchief and put sugar in it and twisted it around and dipped it in whiskey and then give it to me as a baby and set me up and keep me, soothe your teething and stuff. And that's just like how many months you get your first tooth. It's like, well, apparently that didn't work too good because I figured out the more I yelled, the more sugar tit I'd get. So, you know, that was a rocky start. I remember going around the adults, probably would have fish fries and stuff, and all the adults would have their things and stuff. I'd go around to every adult to get me a little sip of something, whatever they were drinking, and every one of them was drinking something, and that's pretty much the way it was. That was what everybody did. And that was what I thought was normal, because that's what everybody I knew did. And I was a consummate chameleon. I was a Navy brat, and we moved all over the country my entire youth. And everywhere we go, I'd spend about a month studying what everybody else was doing, so I'd know what to be. If everybody was into sports, I'd be into sports. If everybody was into music, I'd be into music. Whatever everybody else was, because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted everybody to think I was okay. Because I didn't think I was okay. I wanted to be okay, but I could at least fake it and get everybody else to think I was okay. I did that for many, many years, and it worked, you know. I was functioning. I would use whatever I could get a hold of. I would steal from my parents' stash of drugs and booze and everything. I would go mow yards and go get somebody to buy me stuff when I couldn't get it myself. And then I would go and act like I thought you wanted me to act, so I would fit in. And I was very popular, and I maintained that until I was a high school senior, and then it fell apart. I mean, I was a double-lettered. I was a football player in track and field, and I played in the band, and I did just everything. I was everybody's buddy, and I held it together until about my senior year, and then I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't understand what the problem was. So I figured the problem was school. So I got through school, and I got out, and I went in the military. Because, man, what better job could there be for an addict? They pay you. They feed you, clothe you, and give you money to use. And they can't fire you because they want you to stay, and everybody else is using, so it's all great. I mean, it's encouraged. And I succeeded there, did really well. I was very happy, I thought. turned out I was. I was 20 years old, and I had 2 cars, 2 girlfriends that didn't know about each other, money in the bank, a job they couldn't fire me from, and I woke up wanting to die every day, and I could not understand why. Could not understand it. It's like, I wake up and it's like, I gotta play act again today, I gotta act like what people want, I gotta fill this role, and I'm gonna have to do this for the rest of my life. And it's just like it was in high school at the end, and I don't think I can do it another day. I don't think I can do it. I'd wake up every day, and I'd use enough to get me through, and I'd do it again. I'd wake up and I'd be like, and then I was blacking out every weekend for 3 or 4 days, and I just, wow, if this is it, I just don't want to do this anymore at 20. And I remember planning out how I was going to kill myself. I was at the Navy base out at Millington, and they had this train track going through Millington. And there was a train going through a couple times a day, and I figured if I get in my car and I ran my car into that train, it's a freight train, so it wouldn't hurt anybody else, and it'd kill me, and my parents would get my money from the Navy for whatever, life insurance and everything, and that would pay them back some for being such an asshole to them for several years. And that was my plan. And I had literally planned it. I wasn't talking to anybody about this is what I was going to do. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, my higher power, whoever, whispered in my ear, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe you should do this. So I said, well, hell, why not? I went and talked to my commanding officer and told him I was thinking about this. He said, well, you need to go talk to a psychologist. I was like, shit. Well, that didn't work out too good. But because they knew I was thinking about it now, so they were watching me. I went and talked to a psychologist and told him about all this stuff, and he started asking me questions about how much I was using. And I was like, I don't know, as much as I can afford, like everybody else, whatever I can get a hold of, And he says, well, no, that's not what everybody else does. I was like, well, it's everybody, what everybody I know does. I don't understand what you're saying. And he said, well, I think you have a drug problem. I said, well, I think you're fucking crazy. And he says, well, I think you have a drug problem, and you're talking about suicide, and we're going to lock you up and give you a dishonorable discharge if you don't go to drug treatment. I'm like, shit. That's the last time I've listened to that little voice. And I said, well, I think I've seen the light, Doc. You must be right. This must be my problem. I'll go and get some help. I'll be all right. And I was bullshitting. I didn't think I knew the drugs were only keeping me halfway sane, so I knew that wasn't the problem. So they sent me to. Now, mind you, in the Navy, I was a medic. I was a field medic for the Marines. And the hospital I worked at was the only place that had a treatment center. So they sent me to the treatment center at the hospital I worked at. And this was back in the 80s when they were doing the aversion therapy kind of treatment.
Oh, God.
And so they had me dressed in a bathrobe and pajamas. They had a chain of beer cans tied around my neck like Jacob Marley out of A Christmas Carol. A baby doll that was... Who the hell wouldn't feel self-pity? Yeah, I felt pretty damn pitiful. All my friends will, look at that. So, I fought it. I just gave lip service, and everybody that worked there was in the fellowship, in either AA or NA, every one of them. So I couldn't bullshit them. And man, it like to kill me, because I was like, oh, I've seen the light. I said, you're lying. You're lying. No, I'm not. No, really. Really, I am feeling pitiful. Honest to God. No, you hadn't got it yet. So they did something. It was my first burning bush in the fellowship. First spiritual awakening. They put me in a locked, quiet room, LQR, padded room, for 2 days. Said, if this doesn't work, we're going to throw you out. You're too damn stubborn and too smart for your own good. You're gonna end up killing yourself and somebody else. We're going to get rid of it. And they locked me up in here. And I spent 2 days, 48 hours in that room. And nobody would talk to me. I'd stick my plastic spoon and my food under the door, and a little bare light bulb and chill, and a mattress on the floor. And pretty much what they did is they locked me up alone with the person I hated most in the world. And I'd never known that before. So all this time I was like popular and everything. I surrounded myself with people. I was always, if I was awake, I was out at somebody's house or talking or doing something. I was just sitting still. I was watching TV or reading a book, anything but sitting alone with me, because I couldn't stand me, and I didn't think anybody else could either. Because if you really knew me, you'd have to hate me. And I spent most of the time crying and rocking. And just, God, I can't stand this. I can't stand to be alone with myself. And they got me out of there, and I was like, something's wrong. Because I hadn't admitted that before. I was nodding a lot, saying whatever I thought they wanted to hear, but I hadn't said, something's not right. I was like, something's not right. I don't know what it is, but this ain't right. This isn't what people are supposed to feel like. And so I started paying attention to meetings and stuff, and they started taking us, at this point they started taking us to outside meetings. And I remember one of my first meetings, God help me, they took me to a AA meeting over on Broad Street, and it was a Triangle Club. And it was, you can say, when they describe a meeting as low bottom, this is what they're talking about. This place, all the furniture was the same color because the tobacco smoke had permeated everything to the point where everything was the same color, and the walls had streaks of nicotine running down the walls, and everybody there was homeless or near that, and I was probably one of 2 white people in the room, and I was like, this is it. See what happens? You listen to that voice, and you admitted there's a problem, and look where the hell you are. Look at this. This is it. This is don't get no worse than this. You're done, son. You're 20 and your life is over. Look at this is where you're going from now on. And they had a speaker meeting that night. And the speaker was this, I believe she was about 35 at this point, 35-year-old black woman named Maurice. Who was a nurse, and who's still around. God love her, because she saved my ass. And she started telling my story, talking about how she did everything to fit in, and how she felt like an alien. Nobody, if you really knew her, you'd hate her. And she had to hide who she really was because nobody would want anything to do with her and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm getting pissed. Because I think my counselors have put her up to this shit. Because she can't be telling my story unless someone has told her what my story is. And, but the more I listen, the more it starts to sink in. No, this is what she's going through. And then it started sinking a little further. So, well, if she's gone through this and I've gone through this, maybe this is what the problem is. Maybe there is a disease. Maybe there is something wrong. If we've got the same symptoms, I was a medical person. If 2 people have the same symptoms, chances are they've got the same disease, the same problem. And so I started listening. And that's when I got that second burning bush, that second thing. I was like, well, okay, I have a problem. And it might possibly be related to my drug use and stuff, and what's going on with me, and why I'm so fucking crazy and want to die. And I talked to her after the meeting. I'm still friends. I still see her down at the jail. She works down there as a volunteer. And I was like, wow. She calls everybody her babies. And I remember the first time she came up to me and said, my baby, my baby. I was like, oh my God. It's like, wow, you know, how can I have so much in common with this person who's so different from me? Unless there's something to this addiction. Like, how is that even possible? So I started going to more meetings and stuff. I didn't make it to NA for a while. My first NA meeting, oddly enough, was after a Valentine's dance. AA had a Valentine's dance. And it was over at like 11. And so my buddies were like, well, NA has a Valentine's dance just going on till 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, really? Well, because I was hooked on dancing. I've never danced when I was using because I wanted to look cool. And now that I was getting clean and, you know, not caring so much about looking cool, I was like, hey, I can dance like a fool. It's great. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying this being clean stuff. And so I went to this NA dance. And oddly enough, it was actually closing. They weren't really staying till 1. They decided to close at midnight. But this was back when NA was doing all kinds of interesting things for fundraising. And they had a kissing booth. Now, I've been in treatment for 6 months on a Navy base with sailors. And these girls, man, beautiful, beautiful girls. And this girl was a little black dress, and she was just closing down the kissing booth, and I was like, wow, man, I wish I'd gotten here sooner. She says, well, I'm not quite done, you know. It's like, well, how much is a kiss? She was like $1. I was like, well, I got you $5. And she says, I'll just give you a $5 kiss. She grabbed my ears and proceeded to clean my tonsils. I'm like, NA is for me. I have found religion. This is where I belong. Because, you know, I mean, my higher power, God love him, leads me around by my character defects to where he wants me to go. And that's a very effective way of getting me to do what he wants. And he did. And I spent the next 6 months trying to find her. Apparently she's going somewhere else. She's still around. I think she celebrated 27 years not too long ago. And I could never find her, but I kept going to the NA meetings and it started to sink in. Like, okay, it's not the drug, it's the crazy person using the drug that can't stop. It's looking for something to fill that hole inside. Okay, I can relate to this. This is, okay. Well, as I said before, I'm kind of smart, and I almost got too smart for this damn fellowship because, you know, there should have been 90 meetings in 90 days, so I'd go 3 days. I'd go to 3 meetings in 1 day so I could skip a couple of days, you know. I would, you know, they said read this every night, and I was like, well, I read it, you know, and it's like, okay, whatever. And, you know, call your sponsor. Well, I knew when he was busy, so I'd call him, and, you know. They said don't get in a relationship for a year. I waited a year and then found the sickest person I could find to save. I figured if I could save her, she would be beholden to me and she had to stay with me. Yeah, I didn't work well. In fact, I'd been with her. I put a year and a half together. And this girl had never seen me use. And she was like, well, you're not an addict. You're not an addict. You just think you're an addict. You're not an addict. And finally, fine, I'll show you what I'm like. I'll show you. I was going to save her. So that was the 4th of July, 1988. And I came to the 7th of July, 1988, out of the blackout at Harpo's on Highway 51 out toward on Sunday morning, and the only reason I still had money, oddly enough, But the only reason I came out of that blackout was because they wouldn't sell you anything between 6 a.m. and noon, and I had come out of the blackout, and I was trying to slip this 60-year-old girl who was bartending at Harpo's just 20 to give me something to get me through. When I came out of it, I'm like, well, that's not what I had in mind at all. Where's my girlfriend? Where's my car? Who are you? What's going on? I'd lost my car. I'd run into a friend I hadn't seen in at least a year and a half, and we were there together, and tried to call my girlfriend to come get me. She wouldn't answer the phone, oddly enough. Didn't know what exactly was wrong there, and finally got in touch with somebody to come get me and take me to a new meeting. And that was, so far, last time I used. I celebrated 24 years in July this year, and that was good. Yeah, apparently I am an addict. Who knows? So that's how I got here, and that's how I used for the last time so far. Because I don't believe that I'm immune by any means. I know how fucking crazy I am. All I have to do to wonder if I'm still an addict is like, oh, I don't know, go to the comic book store, or computer store, or look up something online I'm not supposed to, or get a box of Oreos sitting in front of me for a few minutes. I can abuse just damn near anything given me time and energy. That's how I got here. I've had some really good luck with sponsors. I firmly believe in sponsorship. It's so important to have one person, at least one person you're in integrity with about everything, completely honest with. Because I have a hard time staying in integrity with myself and being honest with myself, but if I've got one person I'm telling everything to, it's a lot harder to bullshit myself. Because I could come up with some crazy shit. I mean, I can be broke and start thinking, Tunica, there's a lot of money there. And they just move it around in armored cars, and I could get some of that and take it home, and that would be fun, and that would be a great idea. Sounds great up here, when I sit down and talk with my sponsor, and just, maybe not. And so I've had some great sponsors. The first one I had was in treatment. He was a Marine gunny sergeant. He ran my balls through the grinder. He was hard and tough, and I needed that, and that kept me going for a good many years. After I got out of there, Jamie was actually my sponsor for a while. We've traded back and forth a few times. And that happens a lot sometimes in the fellowship. One of my other sponsors is sitting here with me tonight. I remember my first idea of a sponsor was, they said, look for somebody who's got what you want. Well, there was this guy that had a Corvette that was really nice. And I thought, man, if I can get him for my sponsor, maybe I can get a Corvette. And it didn't work out real well. So what I wanted when I got Rusty here was I wanted to be comfortable in my own skin. And I was at a party, and I was in between sponsors, and we were watching TV, and there was a girl on TV who was really cute, and I was thinking, wow, she's really cute. Man, but I'm like 10 years, whatever, I was older than her, so it was like not cool to think she was, I could think that, but I wasn't supposed to say it. He's like, damn, she's cute. Holy shit. I can't believe you said that. What? She's cute. Yeah, but, aren't you don't you feel like funny saying it? No. I'm cool with it. I'm like, can I talk to you for a minute? Because I really want to be there. I really want, that's all all the years and years, and that's all I really, really wanted was to be okay with Bryan. all of that using and all of that acting and all this stuff was just, to get, I figured if I could get everybody else okay with me, then I'd be okay with me too. It just never got to that point. Because I could get all of y'all thinking I was great, but as soon as I went home, it's like, fuck, I'm a piece of shit. And I just wanted to be okay. Desperately wanted to be okay. But I thought I was so fucked up and so pitiful and miserable that I could never get there. I worked, Rusty was a step sponsor, and I never had one before. I worked steps in treatment in about a week. Thought I was done. Did them. What the hell? No. Apparently the steps are cyclic. I've been through the steps. I'm working on my 4th time through, and every time I work on, I get something else out of it and find out something else about Bryan, which is great. That's what it's about. My 3rd burning bush was doing my 4th and 5th step for the first time outside of treatment. The page and a half, 4th and 5th step. Now this one was a book, and I did the Searching and Fearless Moral Inventory, and I wrote out the first page was the stuff that I thought no one could know about me and still stand to be around. I took the worst things and put them in that first page. Like, this is the stuff I did. And if anybody finds out, they'll throw me out of your house. They'll never speak to me again. So I want to get this over with. I said, I'll read this to him and he'll throw me out of the house now. And fuck it, I'll go use and we'll be done. Because I just was convinced that there was no way I could say these things that I had done and anybody could accept it. And I remember reading that page and looking up, and he said, okay. I'm like, okay, didn't you hear what I said? He said, yeah, go on. And he's like, well, but that's some horrible shit there. He says, yeah, but it's nothing new. Everything you said has a name. If you didn't have a name, nobody would have done it before. I've done it or thought about doing it, every bit of it. You're just a human being. And I cried like a baby. I just broke down and curled up and cried like a baby because no one had ever said that to me before. And I never let anybody get close enough to have the opportunity to say that to me. A lot of the stuff that had happened, I hadn't done myself. It had been done to me. I'm an abuse survivor. I was sexually, physically, and mentally abused as a child. And I was scared to death of ending up being an abuser, but I didn't go that route, thank God. But all this stuff, it was so horrible. He says, you're just a human being, and I love you, and it's okay. Go ahead, go on. And I think we spent about 45 minutes just me crying and just shaking because I couldn't believe that someone could say they loved me after hearing that shit. And that opened up another window. And I'm not an addict. I am a human being who has a disease of addiction that I can treat and I can get better from. I'll always be an addict. I'll always have a disease of addiction, but I don't have to fucking be a disease. I'm not a disease. I'm a person. And I can get better. And I can do better. And that's amazing. Because I didn't think that was possible. Like I said, I celebrated 24 years in July. I'm going to kind of skip ahead. I just wanted to share those 3 points. You know, I've had other epiphanies and burning bushes since I've been here, but those were the 3 big ones that really kind of started meshing things together. Those and steps and sharing with sponsors and funksies and fellowshipping have been the core of my recovery. January of this year, I got sick. Went to the hospital. They did a bunch of tests. I've got liver cancer is what it boils down to. And it's transported from my liver to my lungs. So I've got stage 4 cancer. And it's not curable. They can beat it down, but it ain't going away. It's a really nasty, the name for it's adenobiliary carcinoma, blah, 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 blah. But basically, it's incurable and it's going to kill me one of these days. Hopefully later, because I'm doing the chemo and everything else. One of the things I've learned is I'm okay. I'm still okay in my own skin. See, if you remember, I was figuring on dying when I was 20. That was my best plan. I was going to check in my ticket right there. That was it. I'm 48. I've had a lot of years of living that I never had when I was 20. Up to 20, I wasn't living, I was existing. And now I've had a whole bunch of years blessed to be here okay in my own skin a lot of those years. I never thought I'd have a family. I'm married with a child. Like I said, I was scared to death I was going to be an abuser. Since I was abused, that's what they say happened. I was terrified of getting married and having kids, and I have a 13-year-old boy who is the coolest thing I've ever done. He's just amazing, amazing human being, and I'm blessed to have him in my life. I have a career. I had a career. I haven't been able to do it since I got sick. Went into nursing. Went into nursing school. I went from being the person least likely to be invited back to your house to the person holding the keys to the medicine cabinet at the hospital. The gifts that I've received from this fellowship have made it to where I'm so grateful on a daily basis to wake up and enjoy my life that I can honestly say I'm grateful to be in a situation where even though I'm going through this shit and it sucks, I'm going through it clean. And going through it clean means I can deal with it. And I'm spending more time with my family. I'm spending time with my son. I'm getting out and doing things I haven't done in years. Because even though I know my time's limited, I'm going to use it. I'm going to enjoy it. One of the things that I loved, one of the things we used to talk about was problems of prosperity. It's like when the car breaks down. You know, wasn't a problem when I was using it. Just fucking leave it and go get another car. Steal a car. You know, whatever. When I got clean, it's like the car broke down. Oh, no, my car's broke down. Yeah, but you got a car to have break down. You know, you got a car, but you got to buy tires for it. You got to pay your electric bill because you got a house to live in that has an electric bill. You know, the things, my problems today are problems of prosperity. I want to live today. I used to want to die. Now I've got a disease besides addiction that's killing me, but I want to live today. It's a problem of prosperity. I didn't want to live before I got here. The tire thing, I got to say something about that. I remember, I will never forget, I don't know about everybody else, but I didn't spend a whole lot of money on shit like tires or clothes or anything before I got here. And I remember the first time I bought brand new tires for my car. I went to like Firestone and bought brand new tires. And I came into the meeting after I done it, like, I got new tires! And people were like, that's great, Bryan. What the hell's wrong with you? No, you don't understand. I spent money on me for something that's not stuff to get high on, and I bought new shit. This is amazing. You don't understand. Nobody told me to do it. I did it on my own. And that's amazing. To go from scraping up change to get high and driving on tires as bald as I am to buying, taking care of myself and my family and my friends and living life. Because I mean, I'm living life today. I'm sick, but I'm living more than I ever did when I was using. I mean, much more. And that's why I'm grateful to be here today, and grateful to be here with my buddies celebrating. And we've been through some shit together. I've had 2 places burn out for me. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, he's still clean. You know, I've had both my parents die since I've been playing ICUs. Had lost jobs, got jobs. It's amazing what you can. I haven't used from this cancer shit. It's amazing how valuable life becomes when you don't use them and just don't use for the day. I think I'm about done. Very, very glad to be here sharing with y'all.
Thank you for sharing.